Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today's topic is going to be the New York Jets and their cornerback position and how it's a little bit of a weaker position for the New York Jets on the defensive side of the ball. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So now that we got that out of the way, we can get started. So the reason why I wanted to record this video is because I was thinking about the 2019 season and the positives and the negatives going into the season. There are a lot of positives, even though I am tough on this team, which I think they deserve it because they haven't made the playoffs in damn near a decade. But they do have some positives. Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell. They have a really nice complementary wide receiver core. They have obviously Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder. I like that trio. And on the defensive side of the ball, you're very stout in the middle with Leonard Williams, Quinnen Williams, CJ Mosley, and Avery Williamson. The only thing that I am really concerned about on the defensive side of the ball is the pass rush, which I'm not going to get to today. But the other part is the cornerbacks, because I think they are potentially the weakest link on this team. And let me explain. Yes, they have some other weak links. Obviously, offensive line isn't going to be all that great. I'm not really too sold on edge rusher, even though I like the polite pick a lot. But Jordan Jenkins on the other side, and maybe he's going to be more of a Calvin Pace type of player, if you ask me, but story for another day. But the cornerback position is a really, really weak one. And we'll start with who the Jets' number one corner is supposed to be, and that's Jermaine Johnson. And he's coming off a really rough year with the New York Jets in his first year in a really big contract. He was up and down last year. He only played in 10 games, so he's really banged up. He had 4 picks, and Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 24th rated cornerback in the league, which is pretty good, but I think a little bit misleading because, yes, there were flashes where he was pretty good, but he got beat a lot, and he couldn't tackle nobody. He was really, really rough in certain spots, and how the Jets paid him, they needed him to be a lockdown, shutdown press corner, and he wasn't that last year. So that is a huge question mark because, let's face it, he's not getting any younger. He's going to be 29 next year. But positive spin zone, I'll always give you a positive spin zone. Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator, and Jermaine Johnson played at his highest level when Greg Williams was his defensive coordinator when he was with the Rams. So that's potentially a good sign. But at 29 years old, am I sold that he is going to be able to rejuvenate his career and be the number one corner that the Jets need him to be? I'm not. I'm not saying he's going to be terrible. I'm just saying that if I'm a betting man, I am not putting my savings on Jermaine Johnson turning back the clock to like 2015. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. The Jets really need him to, and you'll see why they really need him to in just a couple minutes with some of the other guys, but I think he could be okay to serviceable. The Jets need him to be great. They need him to be a top 10 corner in the league, and I just don't think he is that. Especially when you see some of the depth at the cornerback position at the second corner, slot corner, and anything beyond that. So, speaking of which, the Jets' number 2 corner is likely going to be Darryl Roberts. Now, I like Darryl Roberts, but I like him as a depth piece, as in like your 4th corner. Someone who doesn't have to be a starter. I don't think he is ready. I just don't. He's an older, inexperienced corner. He's 28 years old already, and in his NFL career, he only has 16 starts in 3 years. He hasn't gotten a ton of playing time. And yes, he has flashed, but I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain that over a full season. And relying and banking on him to be a capable, outside the numbers, number 2 corner, I don't know. That's really risky stuff. And I know last year he had a couple of good games, specifically against the Patriots the first time they played each other at the cornerback position. Filled in for Marcus May at free safety. Didn't really do all that great, but at least he'll be playing his natural position. Again, I like him, but I don't know if he is your number 2 corner. And the Jets paid him like he is a number 2 corner. I just don't know if that's really what he is going to, pan out to be in his NFL career. I think he's more of like your 4th corner, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with having Darryl Roberts as your 4th corner. It's just right now, they don't have any better options for their number 2 corner. So it looks like that's what Roberts is going to be. And that worries me a little bit. The Jets do have a new slot corner as well. They have Brian Poole coming over from the Atlanta Falcons. Now, they did have Buster Skrine the last few years, who was very inconsistent. There were weeks where he looked downright terrible, ton of penalties, giving up tons of yards, and then there are other weeks where he had some fairly good games. Poole is very similar to what Buster Skrine was. He's just younger. Last year, he had 3 interceptions, which was pretty solid. He's actually really good at getting after the passer, too. He can rush from the cornerback position, which I think is a little bit interesting. Sometimes he gets in trouble with the penalties, again, like Buster Skrine, but overall, he's probably an okay slot corner. He's not great. He's not going to be terrible. He's going to be middle of the road okay. Do I think they improved? Maybe marginally, but this is probably going to give you something similar to what Buster Skrine did the last few years, which is okay cornerback play at the slot corner, which again, that's a really tough position to play. It's a mismatch waiting to happen. Those slot receivers are really quick. They do little quick routes over the middle, get some quick completions, and they get that thing moving, get the chains going, and it's a very tough position to defend. And again, like I said, it's a mismatch waiting to happen, so Poole's going to have his hands full, especially in the Jets division, but I think he's going to be okay. After this, it gets really bleak for the New York Jets. So if they lose one of their top 3 guys to injury, and God forbid Jermaine Johnson, they're screwed because they don't really have anybody after this. Let me explain. You have Parry Nickerson, who was a 6th-round draft pick in last year's draft class in 2018. Pro Football Focus was extremely high on him when he was coming out of the draft. And I understood why, and I watched some of his tape, and I think he had some pretty good college tape, but it didn't transition last year. He really didn't do all that much last year to impress when he did fill in for some guys who were injured, because, again, injuries happen during the course of a football season. He didn't really show you that he's ready to be your slot corner, which I think that's what he projects to be. When he was drafted, they said he's probably a project, but eventually could take over for Buster Skrine as your slot corner. We didn't see that last year. And realistically, we're banking on the unknown of a 6th-round draft pick. That's a really big risk if you're the New York Jets. That your number 4 option, or if one of your top 3 guys goes down, the next man up, probably Parry Nickerson, a little bit risky. After that, you have Derek Jones, who is another 6th-round draft pick. He has 4 games under his belt in 2 years. Again, he was drafted kind of as a project, really similar to Parry Nickerson. You have no idea what this guy is going to be. None. Yes, he had a pretty good game week 17 against the New England Patriots last year at the end of the year when the Jets were way out of it and New England already had everything clinched up. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean a whole lot. You can't bank all of your expectations on just one game that meant absolutely nothing to pretty much either side. And then on top of that, you had the preseason when he was healthy. He was fairly good. But again, that's against 3rd and 4th string guys. So what are you really basing this off of? Yes, he is like a preseason darling. Everyone seems to love him in the preseason, which is great. But is that going to transition against starters in the NFL? You're banking on a 6th-round pick, again, a 6th-round pick, to produce. And I think that's an extreme risk, especially when you don't have much depth beyond that. And finally, you have Blesson Austin, who was just drafted this year, and I hated this pick. Again, another 6th-round pick. 3 corners on the roster who are 6th-round picks as your depth pieces. Don't love that. I really don't love that. He has played 5 games. 5 since 2016. Is he going to be healthy? Can he stay on the field? I know that he was supposed to be this really good player coming out of Rutgers, but can't stay healthy. He's not going to give you anything if he's not on the field. I understand that they thought maybe it was worth the risk if he could stay healthy, but the guy has been banged up a lot over the last 2 years. You cannot rely on this guy. So realistically, the Jets have a really weak cornerback group, as you can tell by how I just ran through. Jermaine Johnson's clearly the best, far and away the best guy on their roster, but he is still flawed at that position. You are, again, like I said earlier, you're banking on him to be great, and I'm not sure if a 29-year-old Jermaine Johnson could be great with the other pieces that are in that cornerback group. It's not pretty. So what are the Jets' options? This is what we're finally coming to, the culmination of this. And I'm not going to say which one's better than the others. There really isn't a great option at this point. Mike Maccagnan probably should have addressed this earlier in the draft or in free agency, but he didn't. So here's some guys who are available right now. Morris Claiborne, familiar face. The Jets gave him a 1-year deal each of the last 2 years. Do you sign him up for another 1-year deal as your number 2 corner? It's not terrible. Going into the offseason, I would have liked to have an improvement over Morris Claiborne, but he's probably the best option available right now. You have a 32-year-old Orlando Scandrick who was awful last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, so you're banking on him rebounding at 32, 33 years old? I don't know. That's a short-term fix. Don't really love that either. And then you have Kayvon Webster, who is coming off 2 straight years of pretty much being injured, but when he was healthy, very good. And he's younger than those other 2 guys who are now pushing 30 years old and 32 years old. He's just 28. Maybe take a flyer on him, but realistically, the point of this video is to show that the Jets cornerback group might be the weakest on the entire team. And it's a very important position because this league is a passing league. And yes, you can have all the interior pressure in the world with Leonard Williams and Quinnen Williams. You have a great linebacking core and 2 real solid safeties, but outside, your cornerback class isn't worth a damn. Look at it. Jermaine Johnson, like I said, are you really going to sit here and tell me that you believe Jermaine Johnson could play like he did 4 years ago? I hope he can. I'm just not banking on it. So the Jets might be in trouble at the cornerback position. Let me know if you agree with me below in the comments, or you can get at me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you next time.